Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about problems in the prison and how we address inmates. I mean, certainly when I was at Strangeways, there was a great problem with racism and what you would actually call racial bullying. We had members of staff referring to ethnic minority groups in a very derogatory manner, which was hardly conducive to maintaining good order and discipline. As I previously pointed out, shouting at somebody, you effing, and etc., is not going to get the kind of response that is required to actually maintain discipline in the prison. It simply isn't. It's going to provoke a negative reaction. But they've taken things a little bit further in Japan. If you search Google today and have a look on the internet, you'll see that there are reports of a prison in Japan at a place called Nagoya, Nagoya, Nagoya prison, where they're required to call the inmates san, which is Japanese for Honorable Mr. Asoya-san. That would be, Smith, you honourable mister, step this way for a beating. Yeah, but the prison has had a great deal of problems in the past with guards, prison staff, prison officers being prosecuted for murdering inmates. I mean, taking it a step too far, really, isn't it? There's good order and discipline and death. And so there were not a number of the guards at that prison have been prosecuted, and apparently, there were 22 guards, 22 prison staff were found guilty of assaulting, mistreating male prisoners, and there were 419 occasions in a year where inmates were visibly, physically abused by staff. There have been hundreds of incidents of guards. What does it say? The report says they were kicking prisoners, slapping them around, spraying them with what they call it, an alcoholic disinfectant like pepper spray or something like that. And the inmates were understood to be, some of them were found to have learning difficulties, which is diabolical. I mean, as I've said many times, a great number of the people in prison are not there because they're criminals. They're there because they are socially inadequate. They can't cope in society. And we don't have big mental institutions like this, a big one in Lancashire called Brockholes. We don't have them anymore. But what they do use is the prisons. So that kind of diabolical behaviour, I mean, because it's impossible to actually get through if they haven't got the intellectual capacity to understand that what they're doing is wrong. A good kicking is not going to make a great deal of difference. It's just going to make the poor individuals a great deal worse. The big newspaper in Nagoya, which is an area of Japan, is saying that the paper is called the Manasini newspaper, and they're saying that the inmates are slightly uncomfortable with this new term that they're using to address them, because they've been more accustomed to the prison staff referring to them in the usual manner. Oh, you men, get over here, do that, But now they have to call them Honourable Mr. or San, as it is in Japanese. Well, we've tried the experiment over here. I don't believe it. I don't know if it still pertains that you call the inmates Mr. Mr. Smith, would you like to return to your cell? Yeah? Yeah, you can imagine that. Mr. Paul Sykes, would you like to return to your cell? No, piss off. Right, Sykes, get in your cellar, me and my boys here will give you a dusting. That's more like it, isn't it? They understand that. I mean, the problem is that prisoners very often do not understand when you're trying to be reasonable with them. And that's, I believe that's why it's built up over the years. But certainly at Strangeways they took it to extremes. We've recently had a case where a prison officer at Armley Jail was sentenced to imprisonment himself for spreading right-wing literature about racial purity and abuse of inmates. Now listen, when I was there in 1970s, the mid-70s, the leader of the National Front in the northwest of England was a principal officer at Strangeways. There was a group of officers at Strangeways who were openly in the National Front. I mean, now, I know it's considered to be, or by some it's considered to be, a legitimate political party, but I was asked by the Labour MP Eric Effer to have a look at this, and what I saw was indicated that this was a racist group who were verging on the fascist beliefs of the Third Reich. And indeed, when I attended some of their meetings, reporting undercover to Eric Effer, they had a speaker there from the Ku Klux Klan, the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, David Duke. Now, don't just take my word for it. Go onto Google and type in David Duke, Ku Klux Klan. And it'll come up and tell you what David Duke was doing, and you'll see that it all absolutely ties in. Now, he was banned from the United Kingdom, officially, for his racist actions in America with the Klan. But when he was in Britain giving speeches to the National Front, he was actually staying resident in property owned by the Home Office. He stayed for a period of time at the home of Principal Officer Brian Baldwin of Strangeways. So there's no way that the Home Office didn't know about this, and I know why they know, because I put it in all the papers. It was in the national press. They didn't like that, let me tell you that. They didn't call me Honourable Mr. Sutton then. They called me some horrible names. I also ended up getting physically assaulted. I wonder why. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, experiment in Japan where they're calling all the inmates Honourable Mr. And I believe they've tried it over here, calling them Mr. Would you like to go back to your cell? Except they've got no staff to actually do that now, have they? Because they can't recruit prison staff. It's time to grow up, Home Office. Why don't you get some sense? That's the song dinger, folks. Yeah, I'm going to now recite you a poem. I'm not going to sing to you today, but one I will give you a little song. This is about Lancashire. She's a lassie from Lancashire, just a lassie that I hold dear, though she dresses in clogs and shawl. Anyway, something like that, isn't it? Larry didn't like that because he's from Yorkshire. I believe it's somewhere north of Lancashire. They're rain and they have sheep in Yorkshire, and they also have goats. This is a poem I'm going to read you now. So if you're hanging around now, you know what you're going to get. This is by Christina Rossetti. It's called Remember. Remember me when I'm gone away, gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I, half turned to go, yet turning stay. Remember me when no more, day by day, you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me, you understand. It will be late to counsel then or pray. Yet If you should forget me for a while, and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, better by far you should forget and smile than you should remember and be sad. Remember by Christina Rossetti, who was alive from 1830 to 1894. There we go. That's Tales from the Jails today. Do like, subscribe, and get my book on Amazon, folks.